What is up, guys? Eric here with TeamEccenTrick, and I'm bringing you guys the first duel video in I believe a week or two. This is my Zefra pendulum deck I recently profiled versus Connor's Salamangreat deck. Obviously, I'm on the left with my Spellground mat. Connor's on the right. This deck, I wanted to showcase a few things of what this deck is capable of, just to kind of show you guys exactly some of the combos and some of the the ceiling that this deck can basically operate under. But I end up going first in game one, so I activate Spell Power Mastery and trying to get a search for the Servant, and he ashes, so he drops the ash, and then from there I continue on with my plays and I activate the Dragon Ravine, figuring I can get, because I opened also the, as you can see, the Dark Worm, figuring I can dump the Dark Worm to send the Destrudo and get some level 7 plays in terms of synchros. And he's reading Destrudo, and then he reads the Dark Worm. This deck is really meant to set up a board as soon as possible, as well as to kind of establish negates, while you're setting up your board. Excuse me. So like you're establishing negates in the middle of setting up a board. You're not just trying to, build your board and then end on negates. You're establishing negates in the middle of also building your board. So for example, if you have Servant and you have the 3 spell counters, you can summon the Jackal King and do things with that. So you can stop like cards like Nibiru. But here I activate the Chronograph Sorcerer, blow it up in scale, and special summon the Time Gazer Magician. And I have both Dark Worms as well as Destrudo in my grave. I only play 2 Dark Worms. I figured 3 is a little much. You don't really want to open multiples of it or anything, because opening multiples of it just really doesn't help you in any way. But as you can see, I'm struggling after that Ash Blossom when he ashed the Spell Power Mastery, because if he didn't ash the Spell Power Mastery, I would have had a lot more plays. I would have had the Jackal King, as well as certainly I would have had Electromite by this point. So then I pass turn with only the Time Gazer. Really not the best opening. He activates Signet Mining, ditching his Salamangreat Rage, and he searches the Gazelle, effectively the Arm Knight for Salamangreats. Normal summons Gazelle, uses its effect, sending Spinny. Then he uses Spinny's effect to special summon itself. Then he overlays into the Salamangreat Magistelia. He detaches to special summon a fire from his deck, but now he's locked into fire monster effects only for the rest of the turn. He summons Jack Jaguar. He links into Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. And then after that, he uses Magistelia's effect to spin back the Time Gazer Magician. Or to bounce back the Time Gazer Magician, and then after that, he uses Jack Jaguar's effect to send something back to special underneath Sunlight Wolf. Sunlight Wolf does stuff as well, and then after that, he links into his Balinks, which allows him to search for the field spell, which allows him to Reincarnation Link. So basically, you can see he's just slowly accumulating advantage and just kind of gaining, just capitalizing on the fact that like he basically kept me from getting enough bodies on board to actually do anything. So he's going all out here, as you can see, trying to make it so that he just widens the gap between what his board is and what my board is. So then he Reincarnation Links into Sunlight Wolf on the opposite side, adds back the Rage, then he links again, goes into the Heat Leo, and then after that he spins back the Dragon Ravine, literally leaving me with no board. So I have absolutely nothing. That is one thing I will say about pendulums, is given somebody knows the choking point, they are very, very weak to hand traps. They can, like, if somebody hand traps the right card and you have no ways to counterplay, you can really get screwed. And obviously you don't want to main deck cards like Called by the Grave and Pendulum, because you just want your combo pieces. Otherwise you can really not end on, like you can brick with Called by the Graves and Ash Blossoms, things like that, like cards that are counterplay. So I set a monster and then I pass turn. This game, as you can see, is not really ending well for me. That Ash Blossom really did hurt, and then after that he uses the Rage, and then he sends the Heat Leo to destroy my monster, special summons he chains to his monster being sent, or responds to his monster being sent, specials Gazelle, and he uses Gazelle to send Will. which is an archetype-specific soul charge. It can be, at least. And it can also be a continuous monster reborn, which is another thing, so that's something I have to watch out for. Then he activates the Salamangreat Circle. So he has both of the one-ofs, which is pretty ridiculous. And he adds the Foxy, which is just a way for him to dig more into his deck. So he normal summons the Foxy, and then he excavates 3 cards. So he excavates Will, and then I couldn't see the other 2 cards. But yeah, he excavates a Will, which is funny because he just sent a Will. So from here, he's thinking about what to do here, and I think he goes into the Balinks. Yep, goes into the Balinks. He's special summons the Spinny, overlays again into another Magistelio, detaches to special summon another fire monster, summons the Falco, Link again, and he goes into the Sunlight Wolf. And then he gets to set another card because he linked again. So he sets the Circle, and then he uses Jack Jaguar, spinning something back to special summon. And he special summons it under the Sunlight Wolf. Reincarnation links. That's something that is really good about Salamangreat. It can loop its resources, obviously, as I'm sure everybody knows. That's the basic strategy of the deck. He uses Will to special summon 2 monsters. You know, according to the amount of link materials that it took to summon, or the link rating of the monster that he targets. So then after that, he summons the Salamangreat Pyro Phoenix, and then he goes in for game. So that game, as you can see, did not end well for me. Connor was just able to establish a huge gap in terms of his card advantage compared to mine. He ashed my Spell Power Mastery, and then after that I really had no place to go off of because I drew the Time Gazer Magician then in there. Well, I activated Chronograph rather, and then popped it, special summon Time Gazer, and that was the only play I had from that point on. And then obviously spinning back my Dragon Ravine and making its... He literally stopped every play I could have made because he earlier in the game he also activated Bell on the Dark Worm. I forgot to mention that. He activated Bell on the Dark Worm, and he drew 2 bells, so he was able to stop Dark Worm for 2 turns. So I literally could not do anything. I literally couldn't get a body on the board, and anytime I did, it was a normal summon. And pendulums, your normal summon really doesn't amount to much if it's not, you know, gaining you any card advantage. It's literally just nothing. So that was game 1. We're gonna be shuffling up. We're going into game 2. We sided, and I attempted to side things that I know would kind of, you know, give me some counterplay, because that's one thing I will say about pendulums again, is I've noticed that, like, you don't want to main deck things that give you counterplay, because then you won't have your combo pieces. But like when you're going into games 2 and 3, if you know what your opponent's siding, you can gauge what to side against them, obviously, and kind of fix whatever counterplay you need, and then give yourself that advantage. So now we're going into game 2, and now I'm gonna go first. So I activate the Servant and scale, so definitely a stronger start, and then I activate Zefra Providence and search Oracle of Zefra. That gives the Servant 1 spell counter. So I'm trying to build the spell counters and get the Servant up to 3 so that I can special summon it and the Jackal King. Activate the Oracle of Zefra, so that's 2 spell counters on the Servant, and that gives me a search for any Zefra monster. So I add Zefrath, which effectively is an Electromite for Zefra, but in scale. So I activate Zefrath, and that's 3 spell counters for the Servant. Use its effect to special summon itself, as well as a monster that can accrue spell counters. So here I special summon the Jackal King. So they both have 1 spell counter due to Servant's effect, and then obviously the Jackal King gains spell counters equal to what how many spells I activate. Then I normal summon the Dark Worm to search the gate 0, and then I link the Dark Worm and the Servant into Electromite, and then I use Electromite's effect. And I'm thinking on what to send to the top of my extra deck here. There's a lot I could really do. Obviously, Electromite is basically a resource that allows you to get anything into your extra deck. So I send, I believe I send my Zefroxy, figuring I can probably do some pretty nutty combos there. And then after that, I activate the Supreme King Gate 0, which gains Mythical Beast Jackal King some counters. I use Electromite to pop the gate 0 to add back the gate 0, which actually allows me to draw a card as well. You can do that, by the way, as long as you have other targets to send. I use Zefra to send the Zefra to make it a scale 7, by the way. But yeah, you can do that. If you have a scale and you use Electromite to pop that scale, you can add the same scale back. But now I pendulum summon 3. I use Chainlink's 1 Zefra to add, and then Zefroxy as Chainlink 2 to target a Zefra monster, make it a tuner. So I targeted my Zefraxiton to make it a level 4 tuner. And then from there, I add the Divine Strike. I set it, and I synchro. And the Zefroxy goes back to the bottom of the deck, and I synchro for 7. And I go into Odd Eyes Meteor Burst, and then Meteor Burst special summons the gate 0. I end on a really weird board here, but it's not necessarily bad. It's just kind of one of those weird boards where it kind of makes me think a little bit. But then after that, you know, I was gonna go into Triple Burst Dragon here, but I reconsidered only because, I mean, that wouldn't really make any sense. But at the same time, it was kind of a weird board. I could have gone into the Triple Burst Dragon with the Odd Eyes Meteor or the Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon after overlaying and doing things, but obviously I was in the moment, so I overlaid into the Nightmare Cerberus and then triggered Absolute Dragon's effect to special summon the Vortex Dragon. But I have 2 trap cards. I also have the Mythical Beast Jackal King as well as the Vortex Dragon, so not the worst board, but still not the best. It's something to end on. You know, I have a few negates. He activates the Cosmic Cyclone, and he pays 1,000 to target one of my face down cards. And here I use Vortex and I send back the Zefra, figuring I can recycle that card and keep getting more advantage by searching Zephyr Providences. He activates Silent Mining, ditches Spinning. Oh, yep, nope, he ditches Foxy. So you gotta not reconsider cost here, but... So after that, I activate Divine Strike and banish the Zefraxiton, figuring that would neg him really, really hard. So, you know, I'm trying to whittle down his resources. And he attempts to activate Foxy, and then I negate with Jackal King. And then after that, he has Spinny Engrave, but he normal summons Gazelle. Uses Gazelle's effect. And he sends his Jaguar, figuring maybe he could probably establish some kind of a, you know, a board. He can summon some kind of a Link monster. Uses Spinny to special summon. And I see exactly where he's going with this play, so I figure what I do here is I activate Zefra War, and I can target a Zefra card I control as well as a monster he controls, or a card he controls, and destroy them both. But then I banish Zefra Providence because I target my Zefrath, but Zefra Providence banishes and allows me to basically protect the Zefra card that would be destroyed. So he had the DD Crow, but the Zefra Providence banishes for cost. So that's game 2. As you can see, I was just able to establish enough negates as well as apply enough pressure. The moment he did manage to get something on board, I had the Zefra War so that I could destroy his monster and then just end the game effectively right there. So now we're going to game 3, and I'm siding. And it's really weird to side in game 3 against Salamangreat for pendulums, at least in my opinion, because obviously I want to side cards like, you know, Nibiru's and you know, things like that, but at the same time, there's you know, it's a really weird situation because you want your pendulum combo pieces, but you also want cards to out your opponent's board and to stop your opponent from doing things. So you just have to really consider what is more important, getting your combos or stopping your opponent. And here I opt to try to, you know, mitigate and like kind of bridge that gap right there by just siding cards that I think would be 1 card outs to his board. So for example, if I have a Sphere mode and he has 3 monsters, I side 2 Sphere modes, or maybe siding 2 Cosmic Cyclones just to you know, try and bait his Roar or something along those lines, because Salamangreat is really a good deck at, you know, re-establishing advantage, but he's going first, by the way. He activates Silent Mining and ditches Will. But yeah, Salamangreats are a deck that really is good at recycling their cards. So he normal summons Gazelle, and he sends Spinny. Special Spinny, that's like one of the main combos of the deck. He overlays into Magistelio, detaches. He detaches the Gazelle to special summon the Jaguar from his deck. Links up, he goes into the Sunlight Wolf. Then he uses Jaguar to spin something back, and he special summons, and then he adds back the Gazelle off of Sunlight Wolf's effect. Then he links into the Balinks, and he uses Balinks to search, and he adds the copy of the Sanctuary, which is the field spell that allows him to basically reincarnate Link. But yeah, as I was saying, the deck, Salamangreat is a really strong deck in terms of recursion. Like, it is like recursion.deck, effectively. Like, literally every card recycles something in some way, or gets you a search or something, like every card. So he activates the field spell, and then he links, and he reincarnate links into the Sunlight Wolf, and then he adds back the Will. Activates the Will, uses Will to special summon the other Sunlight Wolf. And then he links into Borreload, which I didn't understand why he did that. You know, he used Magistelio's effect already, so it's not as if Borreload could use its effect. Not only that, it's not really relevant here, but you know, that's the thing, I guess. I activate the Spell Power Mastery. He activates Ash. So then I follow up with a Dragon Shrine, figuring I can probably establish some kind of board here. So I send the Destrudo. I normal summon the Time Gazer Magician, and I use Destrudo, targeting the Time Gazer, making Destrudo a level 4 tuner. And I take 4,000 points, 4,000 life points as cost, but then I synchro into Yazi. I use Yazi's effect, and I attempt to destroy that, and he activates him. Well, he attempts to activate Impermanence, but then we remember Yazi can't be targeted, so it doesn't matter. So I destroy it, the Impermanence, as well as Yazi, and that's really strong because that gives me the capability to summon out the Mare, unscathed, because if I wouldn't have destroyed the Impermanence, he would have impermed the Mare, which would have basically ended the game. But then because I destroyed the Yazi, I can special summon the Chronograph, and then Chronograph special summons another monster from my hand. So that really gives me a lot of advantage, a lot of board presence on him. So then I create a token, create another token, link one token into the Link Karibo. Then from there, I create the third token. So then I link up one token in Link Karibo and go into the Nightmare Cerberus. There it is, the Nightmare Cerberus. He has no monsters in main monster zone, so I can't pop anything, but either way. Then I tribute the last token for the Link Karibo from Grave, to recur it. Then I link 4, go into Borrelsword rather, and then he uses, he attempts to use Borreload Dragon and target my Borrelsword to reduce it by 500, but that's irrelevant, because then I go into battle phase, and I declare with Borrelsword, and then use its effect to basically take half of Borreload's effect, or Borreload's attack points, and reduce them by that much, and then Borrelsword gains that attack, and then I just go in for game, obviously, Borrelsword kill. So that is game 3. This game, basically, I've been working on this deck for a little while now. I didn't get to do some of the combos I wanted to do, but at the same time, I mean, pendulums are never, especially the Zefra version of pendulums, because Zefra can be very inconsistent sometimes. Sometimes you draw the cards you don't want to see, sometimes you draw some of your engine requirements, which, it happens with every deck, it's just the way it is. But generally speaking, this pendulum variant, I really do like the versatility of it. It's actually really fun. It's nice to be able to, set up boards and hand loot my opponent with the XX Saber Golems. But as you saw, I decided things like Cosmic Cyclone, as well as Sphere Mode, and even the Red Reboot. And I cited the Red Reboot obviously because it's Salamangreat, so if I can stop a Rage or a Roar, I might as well. But let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. This was a match between my Zefra Pendulums as well as Connor's Salamangreats. Really appreciate the views you guys give us. Obviously, if there are any ruling mistakes that we made, anything that we may have done that would be considered a misplay, let us know. Obviously, Connor setting up the Borreload in Game 3 probably wasn't the most advantageous play he could have done. I personally would have tried to end on something a little bit stronger than just a Borreload, because obviously then I was able to go Boral Sword kill in Game 3. But Eric here at TeamEccenTrick, and I'm signing out. Rate and subscribe, leave your comments and ideas in the comment section below, and don't hesitate to give us respectful suggestions on content you want to see. Eric on behalf of the team saying take care, and TeamEccenTrick out.